Hey everybody, Mike Slifer here in the First Alert Forecast Center, and we have a lot to discuss. We're talking, of course, about Erin, and we're talking about the return to milder and muggier days here in Connecticut, and another impending cool down. Let's start things off with First Alert Live Radar, Connecticut's only live radar. And this is important because, yesterday at this point in time, we were tracking downpours in parts of the state. That is not the case right now. It is dry across Connecticut, so scanning clear and dry. Winds have started to subside a bit, not nearly as breezy as we once were. We still have some isolated gusts up over 15 or 20 miles per hour, but it's the wind direction here that really is important and helps sort of tell the weather story, so to speak. So we are looking at a persistent northeasterly wind, and this is not only bringing drier and cooler air into the state, but that easterly component to the wind. Now, when we say an easterly component, what we mean is that it's at least part of the wind direction is helping to push extra water into Long Island Sound. We're approaching high tide. We're about 30 minutes away from high tide in Old Saybrook, and it'll be in New Haven around 10:45 is when the tide will peak. High tide in Stamford just after 11 o'clock tonight. But we could see about 1 to 2 feet of inundation during this high tide cycle. So this coastal flood advisory here will be in effect until 1 in the morning. So over the next few hours, those typical prone areas, low-lying areas along the 95 corridor, along Long Island Sound, especially from Old Saybrook and points west into Fairfield County, your first alert that there could just be some minor inundation during the high tide. But of course, once the tide subsides and our wind starts to shift direction, it will not be much of an issue. Now, over the last 6 hours, we had some high clouds associated with Erin, and we had been talking about this throughout the course of the week, but the center of the storm is well offshore. We can actually see it pretty clearly here over the last 6 hours, just how far offshore it is. And the storm is moving away from us. Its forward speed is picking up. So we're looking at forward speed now of 20 miles per hour. So it's moving to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. And we expect that to continue increasing. Still a Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds of 100 miles per hour as of the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, which came out at 8 o'clock. But we will see the newest update at 11 o'clock. So you can join us over on Channel 3, WFSB Eyewitness News at 11. We'll be talking a bit more about the latest from the National Hurricane Center. But watch the track here. As it speeds up, it just moves far away from New England by Saturday. It's still a Cat 1 maybe, but at that point it'll be even east of Nova Scotia, Canada, so moving away from us and doing so very quickly. We still, however, are dealing with some dangerous rip currents as well as some strong waves. Gale warnings in effect off the coast from New Jersey all the way up to, say, near Boston, with small craft advisories out for Long Island Sound. Within the Sound itself, some of the highest waves in the western part of the Sound could be up to 4 feet. Eastern part of the Sound, closer perhaps to 7 feet. So it's going to be tough to navigate the Sound. And we even deal with rip currents at times in Long Island Sound, just not quite to the extent as the Atlantic-facing coastline of our other New England states. And it's not just Erin that we are tracking here. The wave behind Erin, you can see the clouds there, a high chance of actually becoming named in the next 7 days. While this doesn't pose a land threat to the U.S., it could to Bermuda. There's a wave behind it, which has a medium chance of forming. And the newest is that little disturbance out in the central part of the Atlantic. That is a low chance of actually becoming a named system. Next up on the name list is Fernan, followed up by Gabrielle, and then Umberto. And we'll just keep going down the list from there. The forecast continues to be for an above-average season, a more active than average season. So we'll be watching that very closely. Temperatures so far this month have been rather cool. We did have some hot days mixed in. We did not end up with an official heat wave for the Hartford area, but that's not been the case the last couple of days. High today was 72, about 10 degrees below where we typically would be. An improvement over the 63 yesterday, certainly, but still much cooler than where we typically would be this time of year. And that was the case across the state. Upper 60s, low 70s inland, mid 70s along the shoreline with that offshore wind direction. And so far this month, the average temperature for the month, so this is all the high temperatures and low temperatures divided by 2, added up and then divided by 2 and divided by 21 to get us to August 21st. Brings us to 71.1 degrees. That is 2.2 degrees lower than we typically would be this far into the month. On the rainfall front, specifically for the Hartford area, 2.43 inches, still a bit behind where we typically would be. But either way, the takeaway is that this month has been very cool. This will likely be the first month that finishes cooler than average, cooler than normal since November of 2023. It has been quite a run of warm months, but we are likely to break that trend. More on the evolution of the pattern coming up in just a moment. Here's a live look at our iCam into London right now. 63 degrees, wind out of the north at 14 miles an hour. Nice and dry, and it's nice and dry on our iCam view here in Waterbury too. We're overlooking the green. This is live from atop the Matatuck Museum. Quiet night in northwestern Connecticut. We'll take you live to Torrington now. We can see the Naugatuck River there flowing pretty steadily, of course, but calmly. Here's a live look at our iCam in New Haven. Far in the distance, we can see the Pearl Harbor Memorial Bridge, 67 degrees, winds out of the northeast at 12 miles an hour. We'll take you live now to Rocky Hill. Pretty quiet as we look north toward the Hartford skyline, and we'll finish with a live look at our iCam in Middletown. This is looking to the north, and you can see Route 9 on the right-hand part of your screen. Pretty quiet night out there, not feeling much like August. Temperatures are between about 60 and 65 in many towns. Tweed, New Haven, still 67. Bridgeport, still 67. Salisbury and Putnam are at 59 right now. So cool out there. And these numbers will get lower as the night goes on. We've seen a lot of the clouds clear, and we will see totally clear skies by dawn. It will be cool, 50 to 55 in the mid and upper 50s along the shoreline. Good night to open up the windows and let some of that fresh air in, especially since it wasn't that warm today. Your house probably didn't warm up too much, so it's going to be some great sleeping weather out there. You may want an extra layer if you're doing yard work out there tomorrow morning. Sunscreen also needed because it's going to be so bright. Temperatures back up into the lower 80s, definitely closer to where we typically would be this time of year. And the humidity levels will be pretty pleasant tomorrow, too. So really looking like a stunning day to spend time outside. Early in the morning, a little bit breezy. We'll see that breeze subside through the morning hours. By the afternoon and evening, certainly less breezy. And that's what we expect to see as high pressure builds in. Maybe your plans tomorrow evening, take you to the Brooklyn Fair, 79 at 3 p.m., down into the mid-60s by 11 o'clock tonight. How about the Chester Fair? Temperatures will be falling from the lower 80s into the mid and upper 70s by, say, 7 o'clock, down into the lower 70s once we get past sunset. And we'll finish off with the Terryville Lions Club Fair. Temperatures down to about 70 degrees by 8 p.m. But otherwise, you can enjoy a bright, comfortable night out at any of the fairs. And that's all thanks to high pressure, which will be building in overhead. There goes Erin, far away from us by late tomorrow night especially. As high pressure starts to shift east, our wind becomes more southerly, and that's going to eventually allow for muggier conditions to develop. We're looking at Sunday into Monday for when that mugginess really starts to build in. So we'll have a cold front approaching out ahead of it. We'll see increasing cloudiness Sunday, and that mugginess on Monday getting put to good use by the front. Pretty good model agreement here that we'll be dealing with showers during the day on Monday. There are some indications that just offshore there could be some heavier rain. At this point in time, we are not really expecting to see that back toward us. So certainly your first alert to more showers, which we do need, but it does not appear to be a washout. Temperatures go from the 80s over the next couple of days down to around 80 on Sunday, and then we're back into the upper 70s starting Monday and especially into the middle of next week. Look at that. Wednesday next week, 74 overnight lows in the low and mid 50s. Another very cool stretch by August standards on the way as we get closer to closing out the month of August. Shoreline temperatures following a very similar pattern here, going from the 80s back down into the 70s. So maybe another stretch next week that you'll be able to open up the windows and let in that fresh air. We really have gotten a big break on our electric bills so far this month, and it's nice to see some more temperate weather on the way. It does look like this pattern has some staying power, too, on the 8 to 14-day outlook here. So this brings us from the end of August into the start of September. These shades of blue indicating the higher likelihood that temperatures will remain a bit below average. So certainly a cooler stretch, and that will perhaps last to and through Labor Day weekend. Hard to believe Labor Day weekend is a little over a week away. When it comes to our notable dates, September 2nd is when our average high for the Hartford area hits 80 degrees, and that number becomes 70 by September 29th, 60 by October 24th. So to give you an idea of where we've been seeing temperatures that would be more typical of, say, September in the low and mid 70s compared to the low and mid 80s that we would tend to see in the month of August. Also wanted to let you know that in less than a month, we will have our final 7 p.m. sunset of the year. We are losing daylight at a pretty decent clip here later into August, but especially into September. Through the month of September, we lose daylight around 3 minutes per day. So sunrises get later, sunsets get earlier, and of course, the vernal equinox will be happening in just about a month. Pardon me, the autumnal equinox will be happening in just about a month, too. Certainly a preview of fall on the way next week, but in the meantime, we do get some nice August weather. Beautiful out there with low humidity and plenty of sunshine. That's our latest First Alert Weather Extra. We'll see you over on the Wax at 10. Channel 3 tonight at 11, and our next First Alert Weather Extra streams live on WFSB Plus tomorrow morning at 8. Have a great night, everyone.